Welcome to session 4 of our Energizing Stories section. Today we have with us Piyush Mohit, who's the founder and COO of O2 Power, and he would be speaking about a very impactful topic, Before Sunrise, a ray of hope and conviction. Over to you, Piyush.
Thanks. Thank you, Amit. And thanks to the KPMG team for giving me an opportunity to present during Enrich. So, what I heard from KPMG team was that this is a freewheeling talk, and I can talk about my own learnings through my journey of setting up O2 Power. So I'll talk about I've been involved in this sector for the past more than a decade, how I saw the sector changing, evolving, and also what I learned in my own individual journey. So I'll cover both these points. And I take you back to the year 2011, which is when the National Solar Mission, it was called Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission, that was announced. And the government had set a target of 20 gigawatts for solar installed capacity in India by the year 2022. Now, back then, this was supposed to be a very ambitious target because at that point, the total installed solar capacity in India was just 16 megawatts. So, back then, to think of 20 gigawatts was a tall task. And at that point, KPMG came out with a report called The Rising Sun. I was part of that team that worked on that report. And while working on some analytics for the report, we saw that we were projecting grid parity by 2018-19, which meant that solar power would be cheaper than conventional power within 7 to 8 years time frame. This is at a time when solar power was upwards of 12 rupees and conventional power, India depended on coal for generation, was at about 2.5 rupees. So to say that we will make this cut where solar would come down by about 6 times over 7 to 8 years, it was difficult to believe, but the data was saying so, and who were we to go against data? And we went out with that report. There was a lot of excitement in the market with that report. It was well received, and KPMG then, and I was part of that team, we were advising a lot of people, clients getting into this sector. At that point in time, if you asked me whether I was ready to take a plunge into this sector, whether I believed in this sector, those were early days, and I had my own doubts whether, solar would make the journey that everybody thought it would. But gradually, I did realize that, no matter what the policy environment was or how bids were happening, but there were certain fundamental attributes of solar energy that would take it places. And like a typical consultant, I called it the 5S model for myself. So 5S, where the first S was for solar, second S was simple. Solar has no moving parts. And the minute you have something which is completely stationary, no moving parts, it becomes very simple to install, and especially in remote places like where solar is getting installed. So that's the second S. The third S is scalable. You can talk about, and I was just hearing the last conversation where the presenter was talking about mini grids. You can have solar from watt to megawatt scale, where you can have solar lanterns that take just a few watts and are present in far-flung parts of the country, to megawatt scale, where you today have projects of the size of 500 megawatts and even higher supplying power into grid. So it was simple, it was scalable, and fourth S was sustainable, no emissions. And this is one personal reflection. I used to travel to thermal plants in the country, and I would see these large trains full of coal rakes coming into power plants, and then you would see heaps, mountains of coal being deposited there, and then you would realize that this entire coal would get burnt out in just a week. In another week, a similar large train would be here, and all that coal would get burnt out within a week. So the impact that it has on environment, and this is just one station we are talking about. There are hundreds and hundreds of such stations. Just imagine the kind of emission that power sector in India was causing. So it was sustainable. There was no emission. So that was the fourth S. And fifth, savings. While at that point in time, solar was more expensive than conventional power, but there was a path. There was a very visible path that at some point in time in the near future, it would start becoming more cheaper than thermal power. And to my mind, these 5 S's, they were very powerful, and they would take solar places. So at some point in time, this is in the year 2013, I decided to take the plunge, and I joined the renewable energy industry from KPMG. And just a year later, in 2014, another landmark decision happened. When we were, as a country, we were trying to figure out how we get to 20 gigawatts. At that point in time, in early 2014, we were at about 3 gigawatts. So we had covered a large part of the journey from 16 megawatts to 3 gigawatts. But still 20 gigawatts was a little away. But at that point in time, the target was increased from 20 gigawatt by 5 folds to 100 gigawatts. 100 gigawatts of solar and 60 gigawatts of wind. So a total of 160 gigawatts of renewable solar and wind capacity in the country by 2022. That was a very ambitious target. And today when I look back, I realize that there is this power of thinking big. Sometimes things may seem very ambitious, a bit too ambitious to be believable, but then only when one starts thinking big do things happen. So this new target came, the industry vigorously started working towards this target. A lot of new bids started coming, bigger bids started coming, project sizes started increasing from 50 megawatts to 100 megawatts and 200 megawatts to be able to meet this target. And I was part of all of this. And in 2016, I got the opportunity to join a company called Renew Power. This was a 5-year-old startup at that point and had an installed capacity of 500 megawatts. Even at that installed capacity, it was among the largest renewable energy IPPs in the country back then. I was heading strategy for Renew, and I was also the chief of staff to the CEO. So my role was about strategy formulation, investor interaction, and troubleshooting. I saw Renew doubling from 500 megawatt to 1 gigawatt in a year. And then 1 gigawatt to 2 gigawatt in the next year, and then 2 gigawatt to 4 gigawatt in the immediately next year. So 8x in 3 years. Now you can imagine when somebody is growing at this kind of a pace, then it means that both people and processes are continuously under pressure. And also the organization is in a perennial need for capital, always in a fundraising mode. Now, why I am talking about this is because as a troubleshooter, one, I was working constantly on improving the processes because, a process that was meant to handle a certain amount of bulk, when the organization is doubling every year, the process gets old the day it is made. So you have to be constantly improvising on the processes. People are under pressure, so making sure that the organization structure, the ambitions, etc., are addressed. So it was my role to make sure that the processes were working fine. Generally, if there are any red flags in the organization, point it out to the CEO, and also interacting with investors on raising additional rounds of capital. Now, while I did not realize it back then, today, when I look back, I feel that this was a very rich experience for me because 2 things happened with this experience. One, I got a bird's eye view. When working with the CEO on problem solving at organizational level, when formulating strategy for the organization in a rapidly changing sector, and also when working with investors, you get the highest level view on how the sector is moving and how the organization is positioned. So that I was fortunate to get that. Also, I got a very on the ground, a very granular view of problem solving, people issues, process issues, and that somewhere built in me the confidence to believe that someday potentially I could also do the same thing, set up a company in this sector. So by this time, this is around 2018-19, the sector was in a constant flux, and what had happened by now, which hadn't happened since 2011. Since 2011 up to, I would say, 2018, solar sector still remained under the radar, largely for large corporate houses in India. People saw that this was a green business, but people never felt that this would challenge the conventional sources of power generation in a big way. But by 2018, it was quite apparent. This was when solar was already comfortably below the cost of thermal power, and it was quite evident to large Indian corporate houses and even investors and other stakeholders that thermal power is not going to make a comeback. And everyone had started thinking of big plans for entering the sector. So this was one thing that had happened by 2018. In parallel, what had also been going on was that central bids had started becoming the norm. So in the early days and even before 2011, the norm was FIT, where states defined their targets, and under a feed-in tariff mechanism, PPA was signed with states for renewable capacity installation. But that had almost given way completely to central bids. Now with central bids, the benefit was that these were lower risk PPAs. The typical issues that one saw with state PPAs, which was the risk of delayed payment, the risk of default, or the risk of tariff renegotiations, or even the risk of power curtailment, they were not there in central bids. And this led gradually to a larger base of investors and lenders getting keen on this sector, because the risk appetite that they had was now matching with the risk that this sector presented on an overall basis. Also, due to this reduced risk perception, new pools of capital started coming in. Pools which had lower cost of capital, like for example pension funds, they started coming into this sector, which led to premiums getting built in the companies that were already operating in this sector, which led to an even larger interest among the broader set of investors to participate. So because of all of this, suddenly I felt that renewable energy sector was the talk of the town. People were talking about large things. Expectations from this sector were going up, and sort of this sector grew from a young boy to an adult who was also seen as someone that was capable of helping India meet its climate action targets. All the announcement that the government was making around India's NDCs, climate change targets, renewable energy sector was supposed to play a big role in meeting all of that. So now people had started thinking of renewable energy even beyond 160 gigawatts. What we hear now, 450 gigawatts, the idea that renewable energy could do much more than 160 gigawatts got started forming about 2 years back. And additionally, multiple new use cases of renewable energy were being envisaged, ranging from electric vehicles being powered by renewable energy to hydrogen being produced from renewable energy, green hydrogen, which is an additional use case for carbon abatement for industries. Storage integrated renewable energy was being envisaged because people knew that beyond a certain point, and globally studies have proven that once the mix of renewable energy in power grid goes up beyond roughly 20%, that's when it becomes progressively more difficult for the grid to accommodate this intermittent power. So industry was getting more bullish on storage. Now, at that point, I and some like-minded colleagues at Renew, we felt that the sector is moving from, if I can borrow the term, from version 1.0 to version 2.0, and this was the right time to try something out on our own. The sector was headed for bigger things, so even we should aspire for something bigger. That's when the seed of an entrepreneurial venture was sown. We started reaching out to investors. We were fortunate to find two investors, EQT, which is a European private equity fund. It's the largest private equity fund in Europe, and Temasek, the Singapore sovereign fund. The two of them came together, they pooled in $500 million of capital, and this platform got started, what is currently known as O2 Power. It's about 2 years now, and just to talk a little bit about O2 Power, over the past 2 years, we have 1,600 megawatts of capacity, which is under different stages of construction. We are one of the fastest growing renewable energy IPPs in the country today. And where we think we are differentiated is that, like I said sometime back, the sector is changing. We are geared up to participate in the evolution of this sector. So we are very keenly looking at the battery space to be able to provide storage integrated firm power. We are evaluating the hydrogen space, green hydrogen. That's a completely different use case where industry is able to abate carbon, not just through electricity, but also through its hydrogen requirements. And certain industries in India, petrochemicals, fertilizers, iron and steel, these are quite hydrogen intensive industries, and for them to be able to migrate from grey hydrogen, which is derived from hydrocarbons, to green hydrogen, which comes from electrolysis of water, and these electrons are provided by renewable energy, that's a big shift. So we are geared up for that, and I am quite positive in my mind that all these evolutions will become common knowledge going forward. And 2 years or 3 years down the line, we are anyway seeing how electric vehicles have sort of started occupying the mind space of people in general. Same way, green hydrogen is also expected to go. Electric storage is coming up in a big way. Government is coming out with tenders. So O2 Power will participate in all of this, and this will be, if I can use that word, it will be a new age IPP that propels us into renewable energy version 2.0. Now, this is where we are at this point. If I were to, because it's supposed to be a freewheeling talk, and I was told that your own learnings you could share. So when I look back, and I look back a little philosophically, then I see that at that point in 2011, when we were projecting renewable energy to be cheaper than thermal power, it was sort of a, if I were to take a visual example, it was sort of a dark staircase. I could see just 2 or 3 stairs, and I couldn't see the full staircase. But having the faith, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Having the faith to say, okay, I will still move forward. I think that conviction got built, and it's good that the country also moved with a lot of conviction from 20 gigawatts to 100 gigawatts, and that's how I was able to get this opportunity along with colleagues of mine to get this started. Very positive about the future, and that's it, Amit. Those are the thoughts I wanted to share. If there are any questions, happy to take them.
No, thank you so much, Piyush. Thanks for your perspectives, and this is definitely a very inspiring journey that you have had. In the interest of time, I'll just take one question, and this is, I'm very sure, from a young consultant. So you have actually transitioned from being a consultant and moved into the industry where you are actually implementing projects. So this question comes that, does this change your outlook in terms of how you view the opportunities and problem in the sector? You were a consultant's hat, and now you are actually implementing projects. So does this change your outlook?
I think these things complement each other. As a consultant, I was working with a host of clients on their issues, their problems. So I was seeing a very broad picture, but again, as a consultant, when I moved to industry, I saw a different perspective. Sometimes the climate, which is the culture of the organization, or the overall organizational structure, the processes, how they either impede growth or they enable growth. That is something, that experience one gets only when one is part of the organization and not as a consultant. So I think this blend, which is getting a high level view of the sector as a consultant and then getting into the industry and seeing what works and what doesn't work at a ground level, I think these two things come together quite well.
Sure. So thank you, Piyush. On behalf of KPMG, I again thank you for your inspiring talk, and thanks for joining Enrich and the Energizing Story section.
Thank you. Thanks, and congratulations to the KPMG team for this event.